What's going on, you guys? Petplatypus here, and it's time to talk about Toriko chapter 359. So this chapter of Toriko, it was pretty boring, not gonna lie. I'll just cut right to the chase. We did not need this backstory to last the entire chapter. I got the point of the backstory, like, the first time they had a conversation, when Don Slime's like, why are you eating such a small little meal of beans? And he's like, oh, because I like it, they taste good, and he talks about how he cares about how people feel, and when he makes other people happy, that's like a good meal for his heart. And, it's kind of cheesy, but it works, whatever. They have that conversation about twice. I'm like, okay, I get it. And then they have it, like, again. And then they keep going into, like, the Midora fight. And the backstory just keeps going. And I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't need this entire backstory. This doesn't feel, like, relevant right now. The naming of Don Slime, okay, that's fine. But the rest of it just didn't feel relevant with a character that's already dead, and it just, I don't know, it felt like a waste of a chapter to drag that whole conversation and that whole backstory out that whole time. The ending was cool, with them pulling out the Dawn Fork and the Dawn Knife. That was really badass, and, we'll see what happens. But I really do just feel like this just, again, hammers in, like, the total irrelevance of Ichiru in this whole, like, recent arc, and how bringing him back was just, like, pointless chapters. Like, any chapters that set up bringing Ichiru back are now completely irrelevant and pointless. And I don't think Mitsutoshi wants it to be that way. Maybe he just got rushed by Shonen Jump, and he's like, well, I can't bring Ichiru back because I gotta do all this other stuff, and he had to cut it or whatever. See, personally, for me, when I'm writing my own manga series that I'm working on, they're rough drafts. I mean, I draw them very cleanly for rough drafts. They aren't just scribbles like most rough drafts, but they're basically just, I can just keep going, because no one's, like, overseeing it, no one's editing it. I just keep going, I keep writing out my story. But if it were to be canceled, like, say I get to around 100 chapters, which is about 2 years of serialization or, being, put out in a magazine or whatever, and they say, you know what, you gotta end it this year, it's just not selling, I kind of have it made in a way where I can just end it. Like, okay, I'll just bring in all these characters I had set up later, make the finale this really big event, and end it on, like, I guess a high note. I would like to think my series is pretty good, so, but that's how I'd end it. And with Toriko, and I'm not saying he needed to have that kind of, like, contingency plan or whatever you want to call it in place. Obviously, he would have been very confident in his series, and it was selling really well for a while, so he started setting everything up and planning everything out. And that's all fine, but, when you start to get towards, cancellation, or when Shonen Jump decides to fast-track you, you really got to pick and choose what you want to show, and I feel like this was not what needed to be shown. But, so you got the conversation that repeated a lot. What else did I not like about this chapter? I didn't like Neo, or Casey, or whoever the fuck was talking, with that generic shonen villain fucking emotions are weak, that's what makes you weak and frail, because fucking what you just said is weak, and it just feels so fucking generic and so fucking standard, and I was really hoping Neo could just be like a Majin Buu type final villain, just like no talking or very minimal talking, just this destructive force, because I like the unique way that it kills its prey. I like that it just keeps coming back even after being defeated, just getting stronger and stronger and wiping out life on planets. It's all badass. It's all intimidating. It's all, a serious threat and everything. And then you throw on top of that the generic ass emotions are weak personality. It totally killed it for me. And I mean, I still like Neo as a villain, as a final villain, being a threat, but giving it that generic personality, it just feels like, oh, well, they're fighting like a shitty ass villain like Broly or something now. And it's just not a fan. Not a fan of that at all. So, I don't know. And you want more from a final villain? I mean, this is still miles and miles and leagues better than Kaguya from Naruto. Oh my god, that was a shitty final villain. Holy fuck. Don't even get me started on how bad of a final villain that was. Oh my god. But anyways, I didn't mean to get so emotional there, but it just, oh my god, she's a bad final villain. I mean, Naruto, I think, got pretty bad, after the time skip, and just got kind of worse and worse and worse and turned into trash, and then that was just like the fucking rotten cherry pit on top. Okay, but anyways, digression aside, Neo's not that bad, but I still don't like the emotions are weak fucking personality. Anyways, repetitive conversation, weak characterization for the villain. I'd give this chapter like a 6 out of 10. Not a huge fan of it. 6 is still like a decent though. It's not like a bad chapter. It's not awful or anything. The art was fine, especially at the beginning. Some of the action scenes looked really good. The art throughout the overall chapter was pretty good as well. Kind of repetitive because, you know, it's just kind of like, well, I'll swap out Ichiru's shirt, throw a mustache on, the background's kind of the same. So it was kind of a boring chapter to look at as well, but still the art was fairly consistent and good. The pacing, again, you know, you're kind of seeing the same background, you're kind of seeing the same conversation, not the best pacing. The pacing was kind of so-so. And like I said, so good art, so-so pacing, really no story progression, and it wasn't like an entire backstory chapter. There was stuff going on in the present time, so I can say, even though the story progression could have been minimal, there wasn't really any at all. So, with all that being said, I think objectively, giving Don Slime the backstory and a little bit of characterization and everything is pretty good. Is it death flags? Probably. And then the characterization for Neo, good or bad, kind of good to give him some characterization, so maybe like a 6.5 to a 7, but I really do feel like this was a wasted chapter on something that could have taken up half a chapter. But anyways, I've talked about it enough, so thanks for watching this video. Tell me what you guys thought of this Toriko chapter in the comment sections below. You can follow me on Instagram or add me on PSN. I'm petplatypus on both. Subscribe if you haven't already or if you like what you've seen here, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.